A new photograph released by the United States Department of Justice appears to show Prince Andrew with one of Jeffrey Epstein's victims. It dropped on Commonwealth Day. The same morning his family, the King, the Queen, William, Kate, were stepping out together at Westminster Abbey for their first major joint appearance since Andrew's arrest. The cameras were rolling, the crowds had gathered. And right in the middle of it all, that image hit the internet. But here's what nobody's talking about. The photo wasn't even the worst part of Andrew's day. The worst part was everything else. Where he was, what he was doing, what he's been told he can and cannot do, and where he's about to be sent to live permanently. A property so bleak that even the engineers fitting his television laughed about it. In this video, we're going to get into all of it. The BBC's extraordinary decision that hadn't happened in 37 years. The conditions Andrew is currently living under, which sources describe in terms that sound closer to supervised detention than royal retirement. And later, we'll get into the detail about his permanent new home that says more about how the palace views Andrew right now than any statement ever could. Westminster Abbey looked exactly as it was supposed to. King Charles and Queen Camilla arrived with quiet authority. William and Kate drew the cameras, as they always do. Senior members of the family filed in, the ceremony proceeded, and on the surface, it had all the hallmarks of a monarchy presenting a united front. But look closely at who wasn't there. Princess Eugenie, Princess Beatrice. Andrew's daughters were nowhere to be seen, their absence a quiet but unmistakable signal of just how far the family has retreated from any association with their father right now. Outside, protesters made their feelings known. "Not my king. Charlie, Charlie, time to go." And one sign held up directly facing cameras read, "Charles, what did you know?" above images of Andrew previously released in the Epstein files. This was the backdrop to a ceremony meant to celebrate the Commonwealth. It was also, according to those close to Andrew, a genuinely painful thing for him to witness. Though not in the way you might expect. Royal commentator Afua Ashampong-Hagan, speaking to the Mirror, said it plainly. "I think anything where you see the family gather together and he's not there, he's definitely going to feel the pain of that. He has been ousted and relegated to the far-flung echelons of the royal family when he was front and centre, when he was Randy Andy and everybody loved him. For him to be absolutely put on the back burner now, put in isolation, is going to be really hard for him." And then the photo dropped, halfway through the morning, from the Department of Justice. The image, circulated widely by the time the Abbey ceremony was in full flow, appears to show Andrew in the company of one of Epstein's victims. The DOJ's ongoing release of material tied to the Epstein investigation has been a slow-motion disaster for Andrew and for the palace. But this particular image, on this particular day, timed the way it was, had a quality that felt almost orchestrated. It didn't come from a tabloid. It wasn't a rumour. It was an official government document release. And it landed right in the middle of the one morning Charles needed people looking at his monarchy, not his brother. The king is said to have grown deeply frustrated with Andrew's continued presence in the news cycle. According to reports, he became so exasperated by the sight of Andrew casually horse-riding around Windsor, waving to passers-by as though nothing had happened, that he moved to accelerate his brother's relocation from Royal Lodge, reportedly pushing it through under the cover of darkness. The goal was simple: get Andrew out of the frame. Stop the images. Kill the story. It hasn't worked. But before the photo became the dominant headline, something else had already landed. Something that, in a quieter way, suggested the damage runs deeper than any single image. The BBC axed its live broadcast of the Commonwealth Day service, replaced it with Escape to the Country. That might sound like a scheduling footnote. It isn't. The corporation had broadcast the event live for 37 consecutive years. This was the first time it had pulled coverage entirely, and while the BBC cited budget pressures, royal watchers were quick to point out the timing. Royal historian and commentator Tessa Dunlop described it as a warning sign, and not just for the monarchy. The BBC's dumping of the Commonwealth service speaks to establishment slippage, she said. One that incorporates 4 previously revered institutions, the BBC, the royal family, the Church of England, and the Commonwealth. 4 pillars, all softening at once. Dunlop went further, disgusted by the Andrew hoo-ha and bored by the same old royal players who never explain or apologise. The nation's reserve of goodwill gets ever smaller. She didn't mince words. The monarchy's greatest long-term threat, she argued, isn't republicanism or protest. It's apathy. A nation that simply stops caring enough to watch. Charles needed this day to matter. Instead, it became the latest chapter in a story he cannot seem to close. Meanwhile, the man at the centre of all of it was spending his Commonwealth Day somewhere quite different. And the picture of how Andrew actually lived through that morning is frankly extraordinary. Sources who have spoken about Andrew's current situation describe conditions that bear almost no resemblance to what the public imagines when they think of a royal residence. He is currently staying in a temporary property on the Sandringham estate, a holding position while renovations are completed on his permanent new home. During this time, according to a source cited by the Daily Mail, Andrew is operating under restrictions that one contact described as something close to house arrest. His movements are restricted. He is not to leave the grounds without permission nor without a chaperone, the source said. Visitors must be pre-approved. His communications were being monitored. The staff assigned to look after him, a cook, a housekeeper, a general factotum, are not, the source suggests, they're purely for his comfort. They are effectively warders rather than servants. Since his arrest, Andrew has also been told he is not to go horse riding. The instruction came directly from the palace. A source told The Sun, "It's considered a bad look. They don't think he should be seen grinning and smiling on his horse like he was in Windsor. But it was one of the few things he actually enjoyed doing, so what on earth is he going to do with his time?" That question isn't rhetorical. Horse riding had already followed shooting onto the list of banned activities. Andrew voluntarily surrendered his gun licence to police last year. 2 of his main pastimes, gone. What remains of his daily routine is, by any measure, a stark contrast to the life he built over decades at the centre of the royal family. He still gets tea and biscuits every morning, apparently. That much hasn't changed. But beyond that, the picture is considerably more deflating. The weekly Waitrose delivery van is said to be one of the few external interactions Andrew now has, and according to the Daily Mail, he has been spotted greeting the driver in his dressing gown. His evenings, by all accounts, involve war films and video games. Call of Duty, specifically, has been mentioned by multiple outlets. That is, broadly speaking, what his days look like now. His social circle, sources say, has all but collapsed. People who once counted themselves among Andrew's friends have quietly distanced themselves. Former associates don't want the association. Nobody wants their name in the same sentence as Epstein right now, and with Andrew under the level of scrutiny he currently faces, any visitor to the estate becomes fair game for the press waiting at the gates. There had been talk not long ago that Andrew was exploring a life abroad. The Middle East had been floated. He has contacts there, relationships built over years of trade diplomacy. But those plans have reportedly stalled, derailed by ongoing instability in the region, and more fundamentally, by the reality of what he's now facing at home. The ambition to reinvent himself somewhere warmer and further away has, at least for now, come to nothing. And so he waits. In Sandringham. Largely indoors. Watching through the window as his family marks another milestone without him. His permanent destination, once it's ready, deserves some attention of its own, because it tells you everything about how the palace has chosen to handle this. Marsh Farm sits on the Sandringham estate. It is not large, it is not grand, and its location, on a floodplain with a nearby bog and the threat of North Sea flooding, is the kind of detail that seems almost too pointed to be coincidental. Pest control vans have been spotted in the vicinity, likely related, at least in part, to a long-standing rule across the Sandringham estate, which prohibits residents from keeping cats, a rule reportedly put in place by the late Queen Elizabeth II to protect pheasants and other game birds on the land. Without cats, rodent populations are harder to manage. The village of Wolferton, where Marsh Farm is located, lost its internet connection for an entire month last autumn. The local parish council has been pushing for a better connection ever since. Engineers have now installed high-speed fibre outside Marsh Farm, and Sky has been fitted in preparation for Andrew's arrival, expected in April once work is complete. One of the engineers, laughing as he worked in front of the assembled press, reportedly said, "I love my job. Imagine going to work and doing all this in front of all the world's media. You couldn't make it up." He's not wrong. This is where Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, once third in line to the throne, former naval hero of the Falklands, trade envoy Duke of York, is expected to live out the foreseeable future. A flood-prone farmhouse with a rodent problem and until recently no reliable internet. One final detail is worth sitting with. When Andrew left his previous accommodation, German outlet Bild reported that he did not take his famous collection of 72 soft toys with him. They have been placed in storage. He took one teddy. 1. Afua Achampong Hagan made an observation that stayed with me. She doesn't believe Andrew will use this moment, any of it, for self-reflection. She doesn't think he'll look at a day like Commonwealth Day and understand why he's watching it from behind a window instead of standing inside that abbey. "I don't think he will feel any shame," she said. "He's going to be upset because he's not front and centre, but he won't understand why. There's no self-awareness around it." That absence of self-awareness runs like a thread through this entire story. The Newsnight interview, the horse riding after the Epstein settlement, the waving at Windsor as if the storm had passed, and now the expectation from those around him that Andrew still genuinely doesn't grasp the full weight of where he's ended up. The government is now consulting on formally removing him from the line of succession, pending the outcome of police investigations. His titles are already gone, his public role finished, his social world emptied. And Tessa Dunlop's point about creeping apathy extends outward. This isn't just Andrew's problem anymore. Every time the palace is forced to spend a ceremonial day managing his fallout, instead of telling its own story, a little more of that goodwill she mentioned quietly drains away. What stands out, looking across all of this, is how predictable the arc has been and how completely it was ignored at each stage when something might have changed. Different years, different scandals, same patterns. The real question now isn't whether Andrew will rehabilitate himself. Almost no serious observer believes that's coming. The questions that matter are the ones nobody in the palace seems ready to answer publicly. Will Eugenie and Beatrice ever step back into the royal spotlight? And if so, how does the institution manage that without reopening the Andrew chapter? And can Charles genuinely draw a line under this when the DOJ is still releasing files and every major royal occasion risks being overtaken by a new image or a new disclosure? For now, the answer to both seems to be not yet. The man who once stood at the heart of this family now watches them on the news, if the internet connection holds. He's waiting for a Waitrose van. He's down to one teddy bear. And the family he was born into has, in every practical sense, quietly locked the door behind him. If you want to understand how the monarchy really handles its most damaging figures, not the public statements, but the private decisions, this story is about as clear a picture as you'll get. Subscribe if you're new here, and if you're interested in what's really happening behind palace walls, not the official version, there's a lot more where this came from.